What's going on, everyone? Episode 14 of Money Matters. It's usually with Matt and Rich. I left Rich solo one day to move into my house, and now Rich is leaving me solo today because he has more important things to do, such as work as a firefighter and protect people. So I guess he can do that. So today, it's just me. We're going to kind of just run through really briefly on, how me and Rich keep talking about, the market's changing, but like how drastically this has changed even in the last 3 months. I really want to kind of dive into that just to get that info out there because things are going to keep changing throughout this winter, but just to give as up to date of an update as possible. So for those that don't know, all of 2021 real estate was crazy, right? You would have to go call it $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 over asking price, okay, just to get houses because borrowing money was so cheap. Okay, and it wasn't just that, as I'm sure a lot of people understand. We had to waive appraisals, waive inspections, sell a kid. Like you had to do a lot to get offers accepted. So now, right, even in let's call it the last 6 months, I think it was like April or May, there was a really, really big change in how this market was working. So rates started to go up, right, and buyers started to pull back a little bit. That being said, there was still this time period, we call it April or May, where, houses were still priced really, really high, relatively speaking. We had that big surge in, I think it was like 15 or 20% for a house appreciation. So we were still stuck in that, but now rates were going up to call it, say, 4%. Which again is low, relatively speaking, in terms of literally humankind. But when you talk about rates being at 2.75, it really shocked people to go up to 4. Okay, and then in the summer we went to 5. And then that's when the market really started to change. And for those that don't know, real estate is always a quarter behind. That's kind of what we say. So for instance, when rates go up to 5, like they did in, I believe it was June or July, they went up to 5. We are now just starting to see the effects of that. Okay, so now when rates are at 7, because we have jumped so drastically even since that point in time, right? We can imagine what's going to happen in winter and maybe even into spring of next year. Okay, and that sounds all doom and gloom, but it's actually a really, really good thing for buyers because those buyers that were just getting very discouraged and maybe even getting priced out of the market because they had to spend so much over asking for houses can now get houses for under ask, with seller concession, with inspections, no mention of appraisals anymore, right? This is really, really good news for buyers. Okay, so to bring it to today, right, we are now, like I said, at the point where seller concessions are back. Especially if a house has been sitting for even now past the first weekend, sellers are starting to freak out, and because they're so accustomed to their home selling so quickly, sellers are still in that mindset that they think they can sell their house in literally like 2 days, and it's just not happening anymore. You're even seeing in a lot of desirable areas it's not happening anymore because when you have to borrow money at 7.5%, you think twice about what you're buying versus when you're buying at 2.5%, right? You'll just throw whatever offer in at that point because the money is so cheap to borrow. Okay, so I hear it a lot where, people buy off, I've heard that people are, buy off the interest rate. I don't want to buy right now because rates are too high. My argument against that is that you can now actually get into a place that you want to get into. You can get a house now. Okay, so don't get scared off by these interest rates. It seems daunting. It seems obviously a little terrifying to maybe go from, if you're only accustomed, just call it my generation, right? I'm 25 years old. I've only really known 2s and 3s for interest rates on mortgages since I've ever paid attention to what interest rates were on mortgages, where now they're up to 7.5. It can be a little, holy crap, what's happening? This is, relatively speaking, really good news for buyers. It evens the playing field. All the cash buyers are gone. All of the, 50, 60, 70% down buyers are gone. FHA, VA, 3% down buyers are getting offers accepted. So this should not be a time where you're maneuvering away from the housing market. This is really, really, relatively speaking, a good time to buy, especially, or I should really say only if you're going to hold for probably realistically 5 to 7 years. If you're I'll come out and say, if you're only going to live in the house for 12 months, 24 months, and you plan on legitimately selling that house and moving, it's probably a risky time to buy because we don't know what's going to happen throughout these next 6 to 12 months with home values. Okay, but if you're going to buy this house, you know you're going to stay there. It's real estate. It always recovers. We always go back, and it always appreciates. Okay, so it's always a good investment for you. Speaking of investment, if you're buying an investment property, as long as the property cash flows at 7.5% to even 8% now on investment rates, when this market turns and you have that property, when you refi, call it even 6%, you're just going to cash flow more, right? So it's never really a bad time to enter real estate, and I understand a lot of people say that, but it truly is the case. Okay, again, especially if you're going to hold that piece of property. Again, I see it a lot. Hear about it a lot. I even have friends that ask me, like, are you worried about what's happening? Are you worried about this? It's like, no, because people are still going to buy houses. Okay, everyone's the initial shock of rates hitting 7 or over, and people are still buying houses because at the end of the day, if you want a house, you should just buy the house, right? People get all there's some people get all up in flames about a 7% mortgage, but then they have $20,000 on a 25% credit card and don't think twice about it. Right, so you think you're buying off the interest rate, but if you actually look at everything else in your life, you probably are not. Okay, and at least the home appreciates in value. So that's really like the quick market update. From now, again, seller concessions are back. You can actually get into a house that's been sitting for 4, 5, even 6 weeks now. I actually just got one under contract with Rich, where I think the house was sitting for 4 months, 5 months, something crazy like that. So it's a perfectly fine house. It's just the market that we're in. So don't be afraid to go out to start looking. If you were looking maybe last year, and the bidding wars, maybe sketched you out a little bit. You just got really, really tired of being one of 67 offers on a property. Those times are way, way, way gone. So reach out to Rich, to myself. We want to help you. We're ready to be a resource for you. We know how to navigate these waters. We have enough transactions under our belt that we understand how to navigate it. And even from our perspective, right, we can help you negotiate a very creative offer, but in a different sense, where you maybe again can get seller concessions. You can get money from the seller to help pay for closing costs. You could get money from the seller to help temporarily buy down your interest rate, or just permanently buy down your interest rate. Right, there's so many options now that you have that you may not have to bring this crazy sum of money to the table. So just that's kind of the real spiel today, right? Don't get freaked out by what all the news are saying, the doom and gloom that you're probably hearing. It's just simply not the case. Real estate is always there's literally never a bad time to buy real estate. So if you're going to be in this market, reach out to Rich, reach out to myself. We're more than happy to help out. Visit findnhomesforsale.com. That has Rich's info, my info. It's literally essentially like it's an online platform to where you can literally look at houses in whatever areas that you see fit, whether it's Manchester, Londonderry, Salem, Auburn, all these different areas. And you can legitimately directly reach out to Rich or myself to either show the property, to get payments on that property, to understand how much this is going to cost you out of pocket to close on this property. And then you can become as informed as possible to make the best decision for you. And like I said, you can reach out to Rich on that. We can schedule showings. He can kind of get you disclosures right away, so you're not waiting on anything. We're readily available, ready to help you guys out any way possible. And then you can save houses. You can kind of start things where, okay, I want to wait and see if that sits. If it does sit, cool, let's hop on it. It's just another platform to help you guys out. So again, find nhomesforsale.com, your one-stop shop. If you guys have any questions, as always, we're fielding them. Email, text, call Rich, myself. Put it in the comments below, however you see fit. We want to help you guys out. We're ready to make you guys as just more informed buyers, more informed sellers, to help you attack this market, because things are changing, but we are ready to help you win these offers. Thank you guys, and that is why money matters.